this morning, we can do the purification practice. I mean, every practice, actually, every practice in Buddhism is really that. Every time you do any work on your mind, every time you have a positive thought, you could say that you're purifying the habits that are opposite, you know. So, but there are some practices that are particularly powerful for purification. So we think just for this 30 minutes, we're going to be here together to do a little bit of work on our mind, to move us one tiny step closer to our own amazing potential, for our sake and the sake of others, thinking like that. So this practice, it involves visualizing the Buddha, in the tantric aspect. It's called Vajrasattva. He's called Vajrasattva, and he's particularly related to wisdom, to achieving the realization of emptiness, to realizing the ultimate way that things exist. So, and that's the main purification. When we've cut the ego grasping, when we've cut the root delusion, the misconception of the self, then we're beginning the climb out of our samsara into our nirvana. We can't fall back after that. We can only go forward, and we can never lose that realization. So, but the main part of it it consists of these four attitudes, the 4 R's. It's a good way to remember it: regret, reliance, the remedy, resolve.
Okay.
Maybe somebody mute yourself. Everybody mute yourself. Somebody's not muted. There we go. So we just go through. It's like an analysis, you know, and remembering that every thought counts. You know, every thought counts. Every thought, no thought goes astray. Every thought leaves an imprint in the mind. And of course, what we want to do is leave as many positive imprints as possible. That's the point. So the first step is regret. So we just think of it as a very natural process, and it's a psychological process, you know, and it's actually, So the first step is regret. So it's crucial to understand this is not guilt. Guilt is, I did this and I did that and I did this, and then as a conclusion, I'm a bad person. That's not this. This is accountability. So regret is just think, okay? Think of dumb things we've done with our body and our speech first. Things we've done with our body and speech to harm others. You know, maybe yesterday, maybe not, maybe today if you got up early already and you're already, you know, but first of all, in particular, like recently, but then in general in this life, things we've done with our body and our speech to harm others. Saying bad words, lying, just think, you know, killing. Most of us kill something. We used to, you know, kill the mosquitoes, kill the ants. Some of us have killed, you know, some of us have had an abortion. I had an abortion when I was 23. Any actions we've done with our body and speech to harm others. This is the point. Think. Killing. You know, taking the ungiven, as Lama Zopa calls it. Taking the ungiven. Maybe not paid our taxes. Maybe not paid our credit card bills. Maybe not paid back a debt someone gave us. Even taking anything that wasn't offered. Things we didn't return to people that belongs to them. Little things, baby things. Maybe we cheated on our partner. Just remember, you know, things we can remember. Just think, you know. And then the speech, this is our favorite. Saying things that aren't true. Misleading people with our speech. harsh words, just uncontrolled, useless speech, compulsion to say something. Bad mouthing behind backs, I think that's our favorite. We love to talk about politicians, criticizing, finding fault. Things, such ordinary things that we think are just like nothing. But everything we think and do and say, think this, everything we think and do and say programs our mind. With that, don't even think of the harm we do to others yet. Regret is about ourselves. Every tiny thing we think and do and say programs our mind with that. We don't think that in our culture. We think, oh, it doesn't matter, or no one saw it, or that's not the point. We create ourselves. So all those actions of killing. And sometimes for women, the one of abortion is very painful and very distressing. Just think of it if we did it, or being part of it. If we're a man, being part of it, agreed to it or something. That's called killing. It was a sentient being came to our womb at conception. That's how it goes. In my case, it was crystal clear. That second I knew I was pregnant. And that second I decided, I don't want what comes out in 9 months. That's called killing. We call it what it is, So we think, whatever these actions, the ones that we can remember, it's good to remember some, then all the trillions that we don't remember, of course. Since we're born, unless we're bodhisattvas, since we're born, we've done actions with our body and speech that have harmed others. It's a fact. Don't feel guilty, it's just fact. We're human. We've got problems, we've got anger, we've got attachment, we've got depression. So naturally we're going to have doing actions with our body and speech that harm others. So we think, it's true, I did that. I had that abortion. I killed those ants. I harmed that person. I said those words. So I regret from the depths of my heart. But why? At this point, this step, regret, is because I am sick of suffering. I don't want these seeds to ripen. I don't want to develop these habits. I don't want these things to happen to me. These are facts. Because these are the cause of suffering. That's Buddha's view. So I regret from the depths of my heart, because I do not want further suffering. I am sick of suffering. I know I do not want these things to happen to me. I know I cannot stand being harmed, lied to, stolen from, hurt, abused, insulted. I do not want suffering. I'm tired of suffering. So I regret from the depths of my heart. And you're talking to yourself here. We're becoming our own friend. So this has got nothing to do with guilt. As His Holiness said, guilt, you look in the past and you think, I did this and I did that. And then we conclude, and I'm a bad person. But that's not the point here. You're not a bad person. As he says, regret is looking in the past and saying, I did do this and I did do that. But then you think, what can I do about it? This is proactive. It's intelligent. Guilt is self-hate. Guilt is blame. Guilt is useless. So we have to cultivate this helpful, optimistic, constructive attitude. And it's ownership, it's courageous, it's grown up. I did do it. Yes, why? Because I'm foolish, because I'm driven by anger and attachment like everybody else. I'm not in control of my senses. So I regret, not just these actions that I remember, but anything I must have done with my body and speech since beginningless time. Because every one of those actions sows seeds in my mind. And those seeds will not disappear. And they will ripen at one point as my suffering. And I don't want that. I'm sick of suffering. I regret from the depths of my heart, for my own sake. We often miss this step, but this is incredibly important. It's like compassion for yourself. Whatever I've done, out of my ignorance, that will harm me. I'm sick of suffering. I do not want this. So whom can I turn to? Whom can I rely upon? Whose medicine can I use to heal myself? So here we turn to the Buddha. Second step. So above our heads. No, first, before that, let's regret even the delusions. Let's regret the ignorance. Let's regret the anger, the attachment, the depression, the fears, the jealousy that are the source of why I do these dumb things with my body and speech. These I regret. Look at the pain they cause me. These I am sick of. I'm sick of the attachment, sick of the uncontrol, sick of the jealousy, the depression, the anxiety, the anger. Sick of it. I regret all of this from the depths of my heart. So whom can I turn to? So we visualize above our head. We just imagine the Buddha, but it's the Buddha in the Bodhisattva style, not as the monk. And in this case, you know how you see in the pictures, this gorgeous, radiant Bodhisattva style. He's white, with silken clothes, sitting in full lotus position. And he's holding a bell in his left hand at his heart, and crossing it is a dorji in his right hand. And these represent wisdom and compassion, and the union of these two, which is Buddhahood. And if you have a spiritual teacher, if you have a lama, if you have a teacher you feel close to, it's their mind. You imagine it's their mind manifesting above your crown as Vajrasattva, as the Buddha, for your sake, to help you, full of love and compassion for you, wanting you to discover your true nature, to purify your mind. If you're familiar with the visualization, if not, don't worry, just imagine this blissful, enlightened energy above your head. He's sitting on a multicolored lotus, holding the dorji and bell, his face very radiant, very beautiful, full of love, full of compassion for you. So just feel delighted that we have found somebody. Feel delighted we've found someone who's got methods that we can use, antidotes, methods, practices that we can do to help us purify ourselves. Buddha doesn't purify us. We purify us. We rely upon the Buddha, that's all. Now, the second part of the second step, reliance, now is where we think of compassion for others now. First one, regrets like compassion for ourselves. Now we think of those we have harmed. I always think of that child in my womb. We had karma, yes. They created the cause to come to my womb, and they created the cause to be killed by me. This is fact. This is an interdependent scenario. Not just me. We're in that together. But, you know, I want to have compassion now for harming that sentient being. Yes, they created the cause to be harmed, but I want to have compassion for them for the bit I did. Stop that process. And all the creatures we've harmed, all the ants, the cockroaches, even when we've meant well, you know, killing our pussycat, our doggy, because we thought they were suffering. We meant well. We did mean well. But they might have been born in the lower realms. We don't know that. So we have such compassion. We regret for the sake of all the sentient beings we must have harmed. The ones we can remember and all the ones we can't. Such compassion for them. Must purify for their sake. Regret is for my sake, first one. Now it's for their sake. And if we can, if we're brave enough, we also have compassion for those who've harmed us. We've all had this in our lives, sometimes unable to let go of it, too unbearable. The suffering is too much. But if we can be brave enough because it's the karmic connection between us, like me and that fetus. We had a history together in the past. So the same with people who've harmed us. We must have harmed them, then they harm us. So we have compassion for them because they will suffer in the future from having harmed me. So if we can be brave enough, have such compassion for them and wish to purify also for their sake, those who've harmed us. So the third step, the remedy. So now we visualize Lama Chenrezig Lama Vajrasattva so compassionately. He sends from his heart chakra. He's sitting above our heads, facing the same way. So imagine from his heart chakra in the center of his chest, he sends these powerful, like hose of energy, white nectar, like intense hose of nectar that arcs around and enters our crown and completely fills us. And imagine it just forces out, no choice, forces out all through the lower part of our body, disappearing into space, all the karmic imprints of all the harm we've ever done since beginningless time to sentient beings with our bodies, driving it out like filthy liquid, disappearing into space, imagining this so happily, this powerful nectar filling us. And we can recite the mantra 3 times. If you don't know it, just visualize, want this to happen, be delighted. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Dido Mebawa Sutoshayo Mebawa Suposhayo Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Memprayasa Sawa Karma Sutsame Siddham Shriyam Kuruhung Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajraba Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Dido Mebawa Sutoshayo Mebawa Suposhayo Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Memprayasa Sawa Karma Sutsame Siddham Shriyam Kuruhung Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajraba Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Dido Mebawa Sutoshayo Mebawa Suposhayo Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Memprayasa Sawa Karma Sutsame Siddham Shriyam Kuruhung Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajraba Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe. Imagine totally purified. Not one atom left, all this negativity gone, all the actions of our body and speech disappeared. And as Amazopa says, it's the power of our mind, our conviction, our wish to purify. That is what purifies. Negativity is not self-existent. As Lama Yeshe said, we create negativity with our mind. So we purify it, we counteract it by creating positivity with our mind. So the strength of our positivity is what purifies. So again, Lama Vajrasattva so compassionately sends again from his heart, arcing around this powerful nectar that enters our crown and fills it. And this time it drives up to the top of our body all the imprints of all the harm we've ever done with our speech, all the nonsense of our speech, just uncontrolled, ridiculous speech, pouring out through the top part of our body, disappearing into space like filthy liquid. Like Lama Yeshe says, just like when you turn on a tap in the sink, all the junk in the glass comes to the top, doesn't it? So visualize this so happily, purifying every atom of it. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Dido Mebawa Sutoshayo Mebawa Suposhayo Mebawa Anurakta Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Memprayasa Sawa Karma Sutsame Siddham Shriyam Kuruhung Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabhava Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Dido Mebawa Sutoshayo Mebawa Suposhayo Mebawa Anurakta Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Memprayasa Sawa Karma Sutsame Siddham Shriyam Kuruhung Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabhava Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Dido Mebawa Sutoshayo Mebawa Suposhayo Mebawa Anurakta Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Memprayasa Sawa Karma Sutsame Siddham Shriyam Kuruhung Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramami Musa Vajrava Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe. So happy, full of this blissful nectar. All the negativity of speech disappeared. So now Lama Vajrasattva very compassionately sends radiant beams of light. I'm not sure if light can bend, but we pretend it can. So we visualize these beams of light, laser beams coming from Lama Vajrasattva's heart, arcing around and entering our crown, and this time filling us and instantly dispelling all the nonsense. As Lama Yeshe said, as our mind, as Lama Yeshe says, the second you turn on a light in the room, instantly the darkness is dispelled. So here, instantly, all the delusions. First of all, the ridiculous, mistaken sense of concrete, miserable me. Then the attachment to get what that me wants. Then the aversion and the anger and the annoyance and irritation and frustration and despair and depression that manifests when attachment doesn't get what it wants. And all the other nonsense, painful states of mind that overwhelm us sometimes. You know, the anxiety and the jealousy and the arrogance and the low self-esteem and all the confusion. All of this gone, instantly annihilated by this radiant, blissful white light filling us. How amazing. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Dido me bhava Sutoshayo me bhava Suposhayo me bhava Nurakto me bhava Sarvasiddhi me prayatsa Savakarma Sutsame Siddham Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahum Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Dido me bhava Sutoshayo me bhava Suposhayo me bhava Anoracha me bhava Sarvasiddhi me prayasa Savakama Sutsame Siddham Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramami Musa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahum Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Dido me bhava Sutoshayo me bhava Suposhayo me bhava Anoracha me bhava Sarvasiddhi me prayasa Savakama Sutsame Siddham Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahum Pe. These Sanskrit mantras, the Tibetans never translated them. They always stay in Sanskrit. There's said to be something incredibly powerful about Sanskrit. It's like the most holy, powerful sound. And because the sound is actually the wind energies in our body, wind, the prana in our body, coursing through all our subtle nervous system along with our mind. So it purifies just by the sound in our own body. The vibration of those sounds purifies our mind, just that. You know, something very powerful about, they say, Sanskrit sounds. So now one more time, we do a sort of much more, another purification. It's like even removing even the subtlest imprints of all these delusions completely, all the actions, even the subtlest imprints. And this time, and it feels quite busy, but do your best. You visualize light, the nectar coming and purifying, going down, the nectar coming and purifying, going up, and then the light all together. Try and imagine removing even the subtlest imprints of all these actions of body, speech, and mind from our mind. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Dido me bhava Sutoshayo me bhava Suposhayo me bhava Anurakto me bhava Sarvasiddhi me prayasa Savakarma Sutsame Siddham Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahum Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Dido me bhava Sutoshayo me bhava Suposhayo me bhava Anurakto me bhava Sarvasiddhi me prayasa Savakarma Sutsame Siddham Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahum Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Dido me bhava Sutoshayo me bhava Suposhayo me bhava Anurakto me bhava Sarvasiddhi me prayasa Savakama Sutsame Siddham Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahum Pe. Totally purified. How amazing. We're so delighted. Because there's no karma we can't purify. There's no body, there's no action of body, speech, and mind. There's no karmic imprint. There's no tendency that we can't change. That's what's so encouraging. All of this stuff does not define us. Often we think our negativity defines us. It overwhelms us, drags us down, you know. It doesn't define us. It's there, it's real. We did these things, we thought them because of ignorance, but it doesn't define us. Our virtue, our goodness, our wisdom, that is who we really are. And all we're doing here is putting atomic bombs under those ridiculous negative habits, getting closer, allowing our marvelous potential, our marvelous goodness to manifest. Be so happy, be so delighted. So the fourth step, for Bongka Rinpoche, is the most important, the determination to change. So the strength of our regret and our ownership of what we've done and said that have harmed others and our own delusions, and the strength of our, reliance on the Buddha, and then our compassion, and the strength of the way of the actual practice, all of this informs then the courage we have to make decisions to change. So we don't lie to ourselves. We don't say, I won't badmouth my husband again, because it's an old habit. But, if we've taken vows, for example, the layperson's vows, I will not kill, I will not lie, steal, these things, then we reiterate those. And the point about this decision to change, this resolve, is it's the power of our mind. That's what makes us change. If we never decide, if we just sit there feeling, I'm a bad person, I keep bad-mouthing my husband, what am I going to do? We'll never change, we'll just go mad. So we own it, we accept it, it's painful, we regret, we have compassion, we purify, and then we determine. So we'll say, even today, maybe for 5 minutes, I will not say bad words. For 1 day, I will not. For 1 week, whatever you can decide, for your old ancient habits. But if you've got the vows of not killing and not stealing and not lying, you say, I will never kill, I will never lie, I will never steal. And that strengthens your ability today. And then tomorrow you say it again, and the next day you say it again. This digs these deep grooves in your mind, these deep habits. This is how we change, 1 step at a time, 1 day at a time. So just make your own decisions. If you've got your vows, you say what you need. And if you have, and your old habits, the ones that drag you down, that make you so depressed sometimes because you think you can't stop, those old habits, you make a decision. 1 day, half a day, 10 minutes, make decision. I will not for a certain period. Give yourself courage, because it's the determination of your mind that makes you change. So talk to yourself for a couple of minutes, make some decisions. Speech is a common one. So think of your speech, so uncontrolled. Make some decisions. And then finally, Lama Bodhisattva very happily dissolves into white light and absorbs through your crown. And you just think then all this energy merges with you. You think Buddha's body, speech, and mind, my Lama's body, speech, mind, and my body, speech, mind. They merge. As Lama Yeshe says, they become union, oneness. Just for a minute, just delight in that. Your body, speech, and mind, oneness with the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha and your Lama. This is your true nature. Be delighted. Okay, that's it. 30 minutes of doing something with our mind, so positive, so constructive. And remember too, that each of these 4 purifies each of the 4 ways that karma ripens. Just remember. So regretting, like we just did, that purifies those actions happening to us. That's powerful. And then the reliance that purifies environmental karma. The environment harming us, sickness and things like this. The third step, the remedy, that purifies the lower realm suffering. And the fourth one is obvious, the determination not to do something again purifies the habit. That's the one, so powerful. So be so happy with this. Because your mind creates negativity, so your mind purifies it. That's it. We're the boss. That's it. Goodbye. Thank you. And have a happy evening, happy day, happy night, wherever you are. And go one step at a time. One step at a time. Lama Zopa says we're insane not to do this practice every day. Think of the meaning, you know. Very powerful. Very optimistic. So be delighted. Much love, everybody.
Thank you.